Hello team players! In today's teamwork build, I'm going to go over everything you need to play a criminal mastermind in Pathfinder 2e. Let's dive in. So for today's ancestry, we're going elf, and we're taking the changeling versatile heritage. I didn't cover the changeling versatile heritage because, well, not much has changed. The changeling feats are mostly what you're used to, but I will cover some of them in this video. You guys can let me know if you want me to cover more of the changeling heritage in another video. And of course, we are a criminal mastermind, which means, of course, we are going rogue. And of course, this should be obvious, but we're taking the mastermind rackets. This means we can now get sneak attack whenever we identify a creature. That will be important for some of the feats we're going to take later. The starting ability modifiers for this build should be Strength 2, Dexterity 3, Constitution 0, Intelligence 4, Wisdom 0, and Charisma 0. Our first class feat for this build is going to be Nimble Dodge, as getting a +2 to AC is pretty nice. Moving on to Ancestry feat, we're going to take Nimble Elf. We will not be taking Fleet as a general feat for this build, but we do want to be at least somewhat faster than your standard elf. So that's why we're taking this here. At level 2, we'll be taking Underhanded Assault. The problem with the Mastermind Racket is that if you don't critically succeed on the Recall Knowledge to identify a creature, then you only get your sneak attack for 1 round. And we're not always going to be able to hide, so we need another way to get our sneak attack besides flanking and those options. And this will let us sneak up on foes even if they're observing us. And for our free archetype, we're going to be taking the Eldritch Researcher dedication. This will give us an arcane or occult cantrip of our choice. In addition, we become an expert in arcana or occultism regardless of which spell we choose. And we get a +1 bonus to that skill whenever we're using it to investigate or identify magic. I'll talk about what spell we want to pick for this feat in the teamwork reports. For level 3, let's talk about general feats. First, obviously, if you've seen my other videos, you know the 3 feats I always take, but if you haven't, we want to take Die Hard, Toughness, and Canny Acumen, this time for our Fortitude saves. For our other 2 general feats, we'll want to take Skill Training, and we'll also want to take True Perception. As an intelligence-based rogue, we're going to be trained in every skill except 1. And Skill Training will give us that extra 1 we need to be trained in every single skill in the game. And since we're going to be legendary in Perception, we might as well just get True Seeing. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. Moving on to level 4, we're going to be taking Battle Assessments. In order to get our sneak attack, we need to identify the creature. But that doesn't tell us anything about its weaknesses, or any of its immunities or resistances. But Battle Assessment will. And while we can get that information from another Recall Knowledge check, Battle Assessment allows us to use our Perception, which may be higher than the skill we would normally have to use for Recall Knowledge. And we roll against the target's Stealth or Deception DC, which may be lower than the DC that we would normally have to beat. And for our free archetype, we're going to be taking Seeker of Truths. And we want the Secrecy domain here. This will give us the Forced Quiet Focus spell. And we use our Intelligence for the DC. Forced Quiet essentially allows us to quiet down an enemy so they can't reveal any secrets. This does not prevent them from casting spells, however, except for spells that have auditory or linguistic effects. This is an awesome spell to use against bards, or spellcasters that use similar effects. At level 5, for our Ancestry feat, we have Ageless Patience. If we spend twice as long on a Perception check or Skill check, then we can gain a +2 bonus on that check. Also, you don't treat a natural 1 as worse than usual on these checks. Circumstance bonuses to anything are pretty rare, but you do have to spend the extra time. Not everything is about combat though, so this could be extremely useful. depending on whether you have the extra time and if your GM even allows you to use this feat. Okay, for teamwork report number 1. The spell we want to choose for our Eldritch Research or Dedication is probably going to be an occult spell. It can be just about anything, but we don't want attack spells here. Our dex is pretty good, so we can just use a bow. More than likely, this spell is going to be something like Forbidding Ward. Just try to pick an occult spell that's going to help the team. Or maybe a debuff spell. As for what this build wants to do, the main thing we want to do is get as much knowledge as we can and share it with our party members. Especially identifying creatures, because that gives us our sneak attack. But even if we can't get our sneak attack in the normal ways, we can get it through underhanded assaults. Unfortunately, most of the options that we have to give the off-guard condition with this build only give the off-guard conditions to us, not to our allies. But that's why we want to get that flanking as much as possible. But that's why recall knowledge is our main thing and not sneak attack. Although getting sneak attack is always nice. And don't forget, we can use battle assessment or the second option in recall knowledge to find out enemies' weaknesses and resistances so our party can take advantage of them. Okay, for level 6, we'll be taking Gang Up to make it easier for allies to flank. And for ourselves, obviously. And Strange Script will allow us to read text that we normally wouldn't be able to once per day. Inspired Stratagem is really good because it allows us to give advantage to each of 5 allies once per day. And Lore Finder allows us to cast Locate once per day as an innate occult spell, allowing us to find certain items. For our level 9 Ancestry feat, we're going to take Mistchild to make us harder to hit. At level 10, Methodical Debilitations allows us to prevent an enemy from flanking, or being used to flank, or getting a circumstance bonus to AC from raising a shield or cover. We are also going to need Know-It-All to allow us to gain even more context or information every time we do a recall knowledge check. Then we've got a couple of rogue reactions in this build, so we're going to need Preparation, allowing us to use 2 rogue reactions per round as long as we spend an action on the turn before. We're also going to need Advanced Seeker of Truth, so we can get the advanced spell for the Secrecy domain, allowing us to give a bonus to allies to conceal our secrets. Moving on to our level 13 Ancestry feat, we're going to take Hag Magic. The spells we want here are the ones that are available to all hags. Things like Augury and Clairaudience and Clairvoyance, as those are just other ways to find out things. This build is also going to need Spring from the Shadows, which is just great action economy. And we're also going to need to take Seeker of Truth and Advanced Seeker of Truths, again, this time for the Knowledge domain. These will just give us other ways to use recall knowledge. And Scholarly Recollection will make us even better at it. And we'll need Predictive Purchase and Implausible Purchase to allow us to pull out basically anything we need for a given situation. We also need Words of Unraveling, allowing us to cast quite a few spells. Once per day, we can cast Daydreamer's Curse, Outcast Curse, or Savant's Curse. Each of these gives a disadvantage on certain skill checks depending on the curse. And we have access to all these spells, we just can only cast one of them per day. And yes, we can choose one of these spells each time we use this ability. For our level 17 Ancestry feat, we're going to take Crone's Cruelty. This allows us to cast Warp Mind as an innate occult spell once per day. Thus we can confuse our enemies, making it easier for us to hide. And finally, for level 20, we're going to start with Hidden Paragon. This allows us to be invisible for up to 1 minute and not even clear to us, see invisibility, or similar effects can reveal us. Although creatures can use a seek action to locate us as normal. And we remain invisible even if we use a hostile action. Do I really need to explain why this is good? I don't think so. And the last feat for this build is going to be Incredible Recollection. This allows us to use up to 5 recall knowledge actions at once, but you don't get any special abilities or free actions that would normally apply. So we won't be able to use our Mastermind Racket ability on this. But this is still a fantastic out-of-combat option. Thus, why we're taking this. For Teamwork Report number 2, if you don't have free archetype, then you're gonna want to focus on identifying creatures and using that battle assessments. You are going to be able to do other things, such as Nimble Dodge and Inspired Stratagem, but you won't be near as good at the whole recall knowledge thing, or with keeping secrets. But that's also why we have Hag Magic. That will help us with our knowledge as well, especially that augury spell. But other than that, it's basically going to be the same as when you were at level 5. It's just you're going to be better at everything. But if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like. And don't forget to check out the description below for my Patreon, as well as if you want to become a member of this channel. If you want a video on rogue thieves I think are underutilized, you can check out this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, teamwork is vital. It helps us solve problems.